The mirror room. David was exhausted from his long drive. He had been on the road for hours, and all he wanted was a place to sleep. He found a small, cheap motel on the outskirts of town. The neon sign flickered. Hillcrest Inn, vacancy. He parked his car and walked to the front desk. The clerk, an older man with sunken eyes, gave him a tired look. "One night," David said, placing his credit card on the counter. The clerk hesitated for a moment before nodding. He handed David a key. "Room 203, he said. Then in a quieter voice he added, "Try not to look in the mirror too long." David raised an eyebrow. What kind of weird warning was that? But he was too tired to care. The room was simple: a bed, a wooden dresser, a desk, and an old TV. But one thing stood out: the huge mirror on the wall opposite the bed. It stretched from floor to ceiling, its surface slightly warped with age. David tossed his bag on the chair and sighed. As he pulled off his jacket, he glanced at the mirror. His reflection was there, of course, but something felt off. He moved his hand. His reflection followed, but just a split second too late. David blinked. Maybe he was just exhausted. He decided to ignore it and climbed into bed. Sometime in the middle of the night, he woke up. The room was dark, except for the faint red glow from the alarm clock. Something felt wrong. He glanced at the mirror. His reflection was sitting up in bed. But he wasn't. David's heart pounded. His reflection turned its head slowly, staring right at him. A twisted grin spread across its face. Then it stood up. David couldn't move. His body felt paralyzed. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The reflection stepped out of the mirror. David felt a rush of cold air as the thing moved closer. It leaned down until its face was inches from his. Then, in a voice that sounded like his own, but distorted, it whispered, "Your turn." 3. The next morning, the motel clerk knocked on the door. No response. He used the master key and stepped inside. The room was empty. The bed was unmade. David's bag was still on the chair, but there was no sign of him. Except the mirror. The reflection inside wasn't normal. David was there, trapped behind the glass, his hands pressed against it, his mouth open in a silent scream. And in the room, outside the mirror, someone, or something, was standing in front of it, smiling. "Please subscribe me,"